A Wholesome Halloween marathon wouldn't be complete without at least one entry from the goth daddy himself, Tim Burton. It's not so much a question of will his work be featured, so much as how many and which ones. So today I've chosen to cover what I consider to be his Halloweeniest movie. Although to be fair, you could argue that about most of his filmography, because the man has made a career out of making offbeat, weird goth films. I chose Beetlejuice above those others though because one, it's definitely the one that most fits this week of weird phase we are currently in with the marathon. 2, it stars Winona Ryder in one of her earliest ever roles and she is the queen of Halloween as far as I'm concerned. And 3, because I think this is Tim Burton at his Tim Burtoniest. No other filmmaker could have created something so offbeat, weird, bizarre, manic, strange, and somehow still have it have that mainstream touch enough for it to be a box office smash, and iconic enough to spawn a multimedia franchise with enough staying power that it even launched a stage musical 30 whole years after its release. This film has been around longer than I have, and I haven't even got a cartoon spin-off yet, never mind a stage musical. And that's no easy feat for any movie, never mind one that's as bizarre and surreal as Beetlejuice. Even when you take away all of the crazy over-the-top characters, the weird aesthetic design, the strange innate look to the whole thing, it's still a really bizarre movie. Like, the plot on paper alone it's The Exorcism, but in reverse, where the ghosts want to exorcise the humans. Sold. So yeah, this film starts off as a cute little romance. Gina Davis and Alec Baldwin play Barbara and Adam Maitland, an extremely loving husband and wife living in a cosy country home. One where they would like very much to stay, despite Barbara's real estate agent cousin insisting that they should sell the house because it's really too big for them and should really be a home for a couple with kids. An incredibly insensitive thing to say to a couple who want a kid but seemingly can't conceive. Fuck you, cousin! Anyways, the couple don't have to worry about that for long when suddenly their life is turned upside down, or rather their deaths are turned right way up. That phrase doesn't work here. Basically they get in a car crash and die. They don't even know they're dead at first, they just appear in their home unaware of how they got back. And when Adam steps off the porch to retrace his steps, he's instantly transported to a surreal, almost claymation-esque world, not too dissimilar to the 1996 point-and-click adventure game The Neverhood. And it's a dangerous world too, full of these freaky, elongated, black and white striped carnivorous monsters called sandworms, one of which almost eats Adam before he's pulled back into the safety of his home by his wife, where the two then realise that they didn't survive the crash after they find a guidebook on being dead. Struggling to cope with their new reality, things get even worse for the pair when Barbara's awful cousin sells their house, presumably while the bodies are still probably warm, capitalist pig, to the Dietz family, a dysfunctional couple of upper-class elitists and their goth daughter Lydia, who is just the best. Her ridiculously angsty lines are some of my favourite parts of this whole movie.
Don't bait your mother, Pumpkin. As soon as we get settled, we'll build you a dark room in the basement, okay?
My whole life is a dark room.
Mood.
Not wanting to share the home they worked so hard to build with a snooty couple that's stripping it of all of its homeliness and redecorating it to become a monument to garish modernity, Barbara and Adam decide to hold themselves a human exorcism, attempting to scare the new family from their home with some genuinely brilliant and hilarious effects. Unfortunately for them, they fucking suck at haunting. However, there may be someone who can help them. A self-proclaimed bio-exorcist ghost with a seriously sleazy used car salesman vibe portrayed by Michael Keaton, and named Beetlejuice? All you have to do is say his real name 3 times and he'll come to help you, guaranteed to get any human off of your property with a level of professionalism only he can promise. You will have to put up with him being a horrible, disgusting, perverted creep though. While the pair contemplate whether to take on the services of this weird and off-putting entity, in the meantime they continue their own efforts, and during a particularly rubbish haunting, they somehow manage to form an accidental friendship with Lydia, who, unlike her dad and stepmom, can actually see them. And I love the in-universe explanation they give for this.
You can see us without the sheets.
Of course I can see you.
Well, how is it that you see us and nobody else can?
Well, I read through that handbook for the recently deceased. It says, live people ignore the strange and unusual. I myself am strange and unusual.
Brilliant.
Of course, this new friendship doesn't come without its problems. Now feeling responsible for Lydia, the two have to protect her at all costs from the greasy ghost that still owes them a bioexorcism. But it's not going to be easy, as the guy's a manipulative trickster, and when he does get out, he's very dangerous. Okay, before we talk about anything else in this film, we have to talk about Michael Keaton. His performance in this thing is flawless. Unashamedly bombastic, silly, and not afraid to be repulsive. He perfectly captures the kind of essence of a sleazy used car dealer and turns that shit up to 11. He's unrecognisable in the role. Well, I mean, he's not, because it's become one of his most iconic roles to the point that when people think Michael Keaton, this is one of the first performances they jump to mentally. But when compared to his other work, this one stands out as a kind of, I can't believe that's Bruce Wayne.
I honestly think he is one of the finest character actors ever. Would you believe he got started as an assistant to Mr. Rogers, and now he's being nominated for Oscars for Birdman and, starring in Marvel movies? I'm glad Michael Keaton's a thing again. He was too good to not be a thing.
That's not to undersell any of the other performances though. We've already spoke about how much I love Winona Ryder in this thing. She's like 14 here too, and already displays the kind of acting skill that most adults don't even reach the levels of. But also, Alec Baldwin and Geena Davis are great, portraying a genuinely loving, warm and intimate relationship, and the Beats family and their peers give off this brilliantly camp, stiff upper lip energy, especially side character Otho, who gives off a constant vibe that he can't wait to call your living room tacky while sipping on a Chardonnay, and these campy, exaggerated performances might seem out of place if they didn't decorate such a wondrously cartoony hyper-reality of a world. This film's vision of the afterlife is like nothing you've ever seen, completely going against the grain of the stereotypical and generalised clouds and fire depictions of heaven and hell, and instead imagining the land of the dead as one half abstract art piece and the other half a funhouse-styled neon-drizzled bureaucratic nightmare. Like someone took Hot Topic and Batman and Robin and put them in some kind of visual blender that spit out something that was somehow both far more garish and yet still somehow far more appealing than both of these things. And I love how densely populated this world of weird is. There's so much diversity and death that just brings it to life. I love the zombie football team, the door to a world of lost souls, the girl who's split in half but keeps both her torso and her legs sat next to each other, and my personal favourite, this dad joke cracking victim of some kind of presumably vehicular crushing.
How do I look? There are no mirrors on this side.
Fine, you look fine.
Yeah?
Fine.
Thanks, I've been feeling a little flat.
And it's all brought to life with what is somehow both a contrasting and complementing use of stop motion animation, practical effects, prosthetics, puppetry and blue screen. It would honestly be worth seeing just for the performances and the world alone, but there's also some really strong and interesting thematic threads throughout. The film certainly takes a few side swipes at a certain kind of high culture mindset that puts class and profit above everything else, including life and death. A lot of the problems that arise in this movie are the direct result of nothing more than greed. The cousin moving the family into her dead relative's house, something she always tried to push on them when they were alive for a quick easy payday, is the only reason the ghosts are even disturbed in the first place, and things only get more blatant with the introduction of the Beats family, who clearly represent a kind of absurdist caricature of spoiled rich boredom, treating every single social gathering or life event, including the death of the previous owners, as an excuse to network, or pitch financial opportunities, or make career moves, culminating in them literally trying to, and I'm not making this up, exploit the ghosts for free labour to increase their social status with their friends and make their new home into some kind of morbid, tacky tourist trap where the unresting souls of the dead would become nothing more than Mickey Mouse style mascots for the visitors to play with.
You know, yesterday when I said this, another horror film this marathon that takes subtle jabs at capitalism, that's not becoming a theme. No, tomorrow's video definitely won't have any of this kind of subtext. I lied.
That's arguably not even its strongest theme though. The real message is about family, and how the people you meet, even in the strangest of circumstances and with no biological relation, can become just as important to you, if not even more important than the people you're related to. Hell, the people you're related to will sell your house the second the funeral's over, but the random little girl who moves into it after could be the daughter you've never had. The developing relationship between Lydia and the ghosts is truly lovely stuff, with them each helping fill a role the other is sorely lacking in their life. And if this film didn't already work its way into the list by just being an endlessly charming and offbeat fun time, then this wholesome little relationship would absolutely have sealed the deal.
This film is great. A strong loving look at both life and death, all wrapped up in the kind of unconventional imaginative nonsense that only a zany eccentric absurdist could come up with. Luckily for us, zany eccentric absurdists sometimes make movies. And sometimes those movies have iconic musical numbers. Go watch it if you haven't already, it's a classic for a reason. And with that brings us to the end of yet another episode of Wholesome Halloween. Remember to subscribe to my OnlyDans by hitting the red button below, like, comment, hit the bell, and all that jazz. And would you look at that? I managed to finish the whole episode without even giving a third utterance of the word Beetlejuice.